Hi, I'm Bill Doherty, Barnstable County Commissioner, and it's my pleasure to welcome the viewers to another edition of County Chatter. County Chatter is a program that's intended to give both the year-round residents and people who visit some sense of some of the regional activities and programs that go on here on Cape Cod. With me today is my good friend Ed McManus, who is not only a selectman in Harwich, recently re-elected, I guess for the third time?
The fourth.
Fourth time, oh my goodness, where does time go? But is also this year the president of the Cape Cod Selectmen and Town Councilors Association, a organization of the 83 elected officials on Cape Cod, not including the elected officials that serve you at the county, but that's a story for another day. Ed, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you for having me here.
Oh, it's always my pleasure, Ed.
Yeah, well, you and I go back to when I first moved here and was foolish enough to get myself appointed to the Housing Committee in Harwich, and you were a member of that, and we've done a lot of projects since then together.
Yes, and as I remember from that time, Ed, and I still hold that same opinion, there are three things that that I would mark anybody that's interested in running for public office. One is they have some intelligence. God help us, I hope we do, and that they have a good work ethic and they have a good heart. And the fact that you started off in the Housing Authority, which I have been a long-suffering, long-serving member of, I think I figured it's over 25 years now.
Oh my!
Well, time has a way of catching up with us. Is that when you said you were running for for selectmen in town, I figured that was a good thing, and I'm glad you did that. I'm glad you got elected, and I'm glad you're serving.
Well, thank you.
But now we're taking a look at there are opportunities to serve that that take a look at the whole region, and I wonder if you'd tell the folks a little bit about what is the Cape Cod Selectmen's Councilors and Selectmen's Association.
Well, the Cape Cod Councilors and Selectmen and Councilors Association is named that because in 14 of the towns on the Cape, we have selectmen. In Barnstable, the town of Barnstable, they have councilors. So it's we also actually include also the county and town of Nantucket as members of our association.
Yeah, they recently joined, didn't they?
Yeah, and they come over a couple times during the year to attend meetings, and we go over there once a year to have a meeting on Nantucket. The association is, as it says, it's a association of all the selectmen, the elected officials of the towns, and its purpose is to get communication between the towns, between the elected officials, and about the issues that all face us all. We have monthly meetings, September through June. Given the summer on Cape Cod, nobody wants to try and put a meeting together during the summer, but we do. And each month we have a different speaker in on one of the topics that we're all facing. This year, this October, we're having a presentation by the Cape Cod Young Professionals about the loss of young people on the Cape and their efforts to try and create the conditions to keep more people on Cape. The month after that, in November, Representative Jay Kaufman from the House Appropriations Committee or Budget Committee is coming down talk about state finances with the group. And then,
now, can we talk that guy into giving us the information before town meeting?
Well, that's one of the issues that we all have, is we all wind up having to approve town meeting budgets before the legislature has acted, and they always change the story on us, so we're all caught to a certain extent, maybe having to tinker with our budget.
Okay, so that's November. So
that's November. December, we're having actually, in December, the officials from the Mass Municipal Association, they come down and sort of give us a briefing on what the legislative goals are for the association in the new legislative season coming up in January. But we're also going to have a presentation on beach management issues. A lot of the Barnstable, Chatham, Orleans, a lot of the towns with beach areas that have vehicle access are continuing problems managing the want to get the vehicles out on the beach, but also protect the environment and principally the piping plovers. And want to talk about.
They taste delicious, by the way.
Oh. You said that, not me. But they, there is some effort to try and maybe make the how the regulations and the restrictions are put into effect a little bit more user-friendly for the towns, because for a lot of the towns, the sale of the off-road permits is a big revenue generator that pays for beach improvements and a whole variety of things. So we do that, and then in the new year, January, we'll be meeting up in Boston. We have our meeting at the annual Mass Municipal Association meeting, and deal with discussing and taking a position on the resolutions that'll be before the association up there.
And I know that both of us serve on a Mass Municipal Association committee for administrative, regional administration.
Yep.
And I know we have several things that we've been talking about,
Sure.
which hopefully will be supported by that whole board, on zoning and related issues.
Yeah. The zoning and land use planning reforms have been apparently a 12-year ongoing project of the legislature, and they're hoping to bring at least a portion of it across the goal line this year, but we'll see.
We'll definitely will see, because as we both know, when we go to town meeting, when zoning is mentioned, a jelly donut glaze goes over everybody's eyes.
Not the most exciting.
But I'm happy to say that my son, when I mentioned that we were looking at zoning, said, that's the most important thing that a town does, besides making sure that they don't spend money they don't have for things they don't need.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, because the way a town looks is based upon the way it's successfully zoned. Now, that sort of gives a picture through January as to what's going on. What are some of the goals that you have in the association this year?
As I indicated, the purpose of the association is to sort of foster communication between selectmen, and the association's been in existence some 45 years. It's quite some time. It's gone many directions. In the late 70s, selectmen from our fair town, Don Griffin, brought a resolution to the association that was seconded by one of the selectmen in Truro and approved by the association to begin a succession movement and create the state of Cape Cod. I mean, I don't think we're heading in that direction.
Let's see, now you meet in a room that's named after him.
Yes, the Don B. Griffin room.
At the corner of Queen Anne Road and in 39?
Yep.
Okay, there's a stone that memorializes him.
Yes.
So he's gone but not forgotten.
Gone but not forgotten. But he, he, I guess, got some notoriety for the Cape, and principally, as you know, the Cape being a tourist mecca and a very vibrant tourist economy with. We generate during the summer a lot of meals and rooms tax for the Commonwealth that goes across the bridge, and what we find traditionally is very little of it comes back, and that's one of the principal issues that the Selectmen's Association is always works on.
I wonder if people are aware that it's about $120 million a year that goes over the bridge, and then we have to go up with our begging bowl in our hand to the Commonwealth to ask for some of that money back.
Yeah.
And what I never have understood, Ed, is we're a cash cow for them.
Yep.
And if they don't give us some money at a reasonable amount to run our operation, that could go away.
Oh yeah, exactly. The funding we need to come back to us is funding to maintain the infrastructure we need to stay a pristine tourist destination point. And when that starts slipping away, as you say, the cash cow dies. You know, and the other, well, recently in our town, in our neighboring town of Chatham, we came together to form a regional school district. We had each had our own separate school district, and it was, Harwich had a particular need to do something because our high school was in horrible shape and needed replacing. And so in going to the state, hat in hand, we were told by the school building authority that we should look at regionalizing with the neighbor community. And we did with that with Chatham. And I think to a large extent it was one of the big motivators in that happening was the contact that selectmen from Harwich and selectmen in Chatham had through the vehicle of the monthly meetings at the Selectmen's Association. Had we not had that level of familiarity and had been able to have those conversations and dialogue, I don't think we would have progressed as far or as fast as we had in doing that. We've done that. We formed the region. We got awarded funding to build the high school, and it's going up as we speak behind the existing Harwich High School, due to be done in June of this year.
I looked out the back window last week because I was over at the, as you know, I'm in the high school on a regular basis, and it's coming along really well. I never knew there was yellow Tyvek, but there is.
Yep, there is.
And they're putting that together, and I think that it's meeting all of the it's meeting all of the timeline with regard to completion, as far as I can see.
Should be done by June of next year, substantially. They'll have a punch list to go on as we start moving in. But over the summer, we'll be moving in, tearing down most of the high school to get it out of the way so we can complete the access road to the high school. And then at the same time, we'll be moving our middle school students from Harwich Middle School over to Harwich, to the Chatham Middle School High School, which will become the district middle school.
That's that particular school is a very well maintained building. I've been in that as well, and I think that comparing it to our middle school, which was built in the year of my birth, which I won't mention, but it was a long time ago, is in pretty tough shape. And I know that that in Harwich at least, we're looking at repurposing the building. And if the new school committee can make up their mind as to what they're giving the town with regard to the application, I think we can, that might move forward. So far, by the way, since I know you're involved in housing, I guess there have been 3 housing proposals that have been made.
Yes, there have been, and so that's probably looking as the most likely candidate for repurposing that school. But from that, that experience of having to get to know the selectmen through the Selectmen's Association meetings, we've moved on now, and we're in the process of discussing coming together and on wastewater issues.
The wastewater issue is, is as you know, I've been pursuing this for some time, and perhaps the biggest hole in all of this is not that people don't get that we should do something, not that people don't believe that we have the technical expertise to do it, but people don't understand one very important thing, and I bet you're going to tell me what that is.
Oh, well, how we finance it.
How do we pay for it?
In the case of Chatham, they are probably to a large extent out in front of most of the towns, and they hit their planning and development process at a very good time. They were ready to go with their plant at the time that a lot of stimulus funds were released by the federal government, and were able to take advantage of that. A lot of projects around the country were luckily ready to go, and that's what they were looking to fund to increase construction employment. So they have a wonderful treatment facility built, and we're now in the discussions of how Harwich and Chatham can split the cost of operating that, split the capital costs, and how instead of Harwich building their own, we can share that facility.
Okay.
And
But what do the rest of us do?
well, that's the issue. And you know, as you said, the question comes, how do we finance it? And in the 70s, in the 60s, when a lot of wastewater systems were built around the country, the the federal government and the state governments were offering money to help, grants to help local government build these sorts of systems. They're no longer doing that now.
Or much else.
On a broad-based basis, but they may be inclined to do it on a case-by-case basis. But the argument is for the Cape Cod is that they're not going to be interested, except in the case of, you know, a national economic calamity and stimulus funds, they're not going to be interested in funding sort of town by town, but want to fund a regional effort to take care of the region's problem. Because, you know, if you fix the problem in one town, but the town next door doesn't do anything, you know, you're still causing the same damage to the marine ecosystem. And
They found that out in Barnstable and Yarmouth, where they had, you know, they had a shared, I'd say a shared watershed, and one town was doing something about it and the other town wasn't. So for whatever good one town was doing, it was sort of
canceled,
you know, canceled out. And I think the town of Barnstable has the same thing, not only in with Barnstable and Yarmouth, but also Barnstable and Mashpee, with regard to you know, issues of flow and issues of watershed management. So there is a need for, you know, let's say some type of an umbrella that, you know, that could be looked at to, you know, to let's say to put it together. However, as much as I think we all agree on the idea that in order to get money from the feds, we have to show that we're taking a regional approach, that our 400 square mile peninsula is not looking for a centralized sewage treatment plant with a pipe running down Route 6. What we're looking for is a regional solution that takes into account some very specific site-specific solutions, and then figure out a financing plan around that. But having said that,
well, and that's the issue. You know, I think everybody agrees that one single centralized system is off the table, and it will be a number of smaller systems, probably defined by watersheds, some of which are wholly within one town, some of which are shared between one or more towns, and so how you divide up the costs in that is one thing. But I think that whole area falls in sort of the technical, scientific realm of discussion, and I think that as the process goes will be what you build eventually. Those decisions will be a lot easier to decide on than how you're going to organize the 15 towns to do it. And that's the problem, because right now the 15 towns each solely own the responsibility for cleaning up their wastewater
and indeed,
issues.
Each of the 15 towns is also wholly responsible for implementing that solution.
And for implementing it. And the argument is, you know, we should come to some sort of regional gathering to be able to attract outside funding to help us, because the cost of it is probably...
I think we talk about $8 billion.
Yeah.
Down from 22.
Much larger than the Cape, I think, can handle on its own, but it is... I think by many people's decision, we're sort of a national treasure. I mean, that's why they formed the National Seashore here, and so there are national interests in preserving us. So the question then is, how do you have that discussion on what those issues are that are important to the towns? Because the financial implications of it are so overwhelming Cape-wide that no town is going to give up its control of the purse strings without some reassurances that, I know talking to folks in Truro, which probably in terms of capital costs to correct their problems up there are going to be substantially less than some of the more densely developed areas that have a much greater impact on watersheds. And nobody would foresee Truro wanting to give up their taxing authority so money could be drawn away to help fix the problem in the Yarmouth, Barnstable, Mashpee, Sandwich area.
Well, now we come into an interesting part of the issue is that there are 216,000 of us that live here.
Yeah.
Okay. We are spread out through 15 towns, and although the town is the agency that's going to have the primary responsibility for addressing it, it is a problem that's shared by all of us. There are 6 lenses, these big saucers with fresh water underneath it, that that we're all standing on, and the political boundaries do not define the the path, or let's say, or the catchment area for the for the water itself. So the part of the issue is, as we discuss this, is to have folks see themselves as not only citizens of their town, but also constituents in solving a problem that is shared by all of us.
Yeah.
So how are you going to go about this?
Well, I think the first thing in my mind, I think the Selectmen's Association is a wonderful organization to be able to have this discussion amongst the towns and the selectmen. We're an organization that basically has no legal authority, and we have very little administrative capacity, which is every time one of the county organizations starts holding the discussion, there is a portion of the Cape that says, oh, they're trying to seize control.
Well, of course we are.
Yeah, of course you are. And we all know that.
Yeah.
So I think
Hoyte, Cape Cod, Morgan de Veld, that's the...
If the Selectmen's Association can have that discussion amongst the towns to find out what are the critical issues that the towns have on how decisions are made, what sorts of decisions would go to a regional combination, and which sorts of decisions need to remain local. Question of that is, if you put in a sewer system, one of the things people worry about is that you allow for a much greater level of growth, because instead of being limited by the capacity of septic systems, you're limited by the capacity of the plant, and
we certainly don't want to become another, I would say, Miami, also known as God's waiting room. We over a third of us, are, let's say, over 55.
Yeah.
So there is the issue of fixed income.
Yeah.
And although we might, might have a certain amount of sense of responsibility with regard to leaving things better than we found it, there is that part about can I, as an individual who's on fixed income, who has picked this place to, let's say, to retire at, can I, although I might be inclined to, how can I bear the burden to do it? So I think this all is factored into it.
Sure.
But I'm glad to hear you're doing that. The other part of this water discussion, is the whole issue of stormwater management and the change of the FEMA maps as far as flood zones. I happen to live in an area that's in a flood area.
Yes.
And I see stormwater coming in my driveway on a regular basis, and of course, I would approach the town and saying, I am so happy to see that the signs that I see posted along 124 right now that says, "Selectmen, please do not ruin Pleasant Lake Avenue." means that they're going to make sure that the problem is solved so that the road becomes safer, the stormwater is going to be managed so it doesn't come into my garage, and that that when people see the wisdom in the in the planning piece that has gotten state support to the transportation improvement plan, that the town is acting through their elected officials in a very fiscally, let's say, a fiscally appropriate way.
Well, that project you bring up is a case in point. If we are looking to attract federal and state funds, it's going to come with some restrictions. Whereas the state road money that's coming to Harwich right now has some requirements. I would imagine if the federal government was going to write a check to the Cape Cod region, some of the conditions they'd be looking for is that there's some authority that's going to disperse the funds, and there's going to be some authority that is in fact going to make things happen.
Which brings up the point of that we have some, I think, some very positive examples of establishing agencies that that recognize and support the sovereignty of the individual towns, but yet joins together in order to serve what I'd call the regional needs. Cape Light Compact is, is a case in point, where it was formed with the support of town meetings and the town council in Barnstable across the Cape. That it has a board that that has appointed members from each of the towns that that act as a board of directors to do it. And my vision is that as we move forward in any project that benefits all of us, that we keep that we keep that model in mind. That we don't forget that the people who pay the bills have to have representation on any board that that purports to serve their interest.
Yeah.
Now, when are we going to start all of this, Ed?
Well, we're going to be. I'm drafting a paper for the executive committee of the Selectmen's Association to take a look at. We'll send it out to the member towns, and hopefully after the first of the year start having some conversations at our monthly meetings, and find out what those issues are that the towns have, what sort of protections they're going to want to do, put in place if they do come together as a region to protect some of their sovereignty issues, but realizing that unless they become in some fashion a region,
we're on our own.
The assumption that somebody from outside is going to help us fund this is probably false.
Absolutely true.
And so to find that sweet spot between local autonomy but regional responsibility is going to be the trick. And I think the Selectmen's Association can have that discussion, because it's not like we're going to take control.
Okay. Well, so having said all of that, I'm looking forward to that conversation beginning, and as we get to the these programs go pretty quick.
Yeah.
So with that, I think that Ed, you're providing an optimistic view of the future. There's hope that we are actually going to get something done, and with that, I'll look forward to it. And as we go forward after the first of the year, I want you to come back and tell us how it's going.
Okay.
So with that, I want to thank the viewers for sticking with us to to hear a little bit more about this important ongoing problem and how we're actually trying to come up with some solutions for it. And I want to thank my friend Ed McManus, who's the president of the Cape Cod Town Council and Selectmen's Association, for being with us today. So with that, you've been watching County Chatter, and I look forward to seeing you in the future.